Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from I Will Build You a Temple, the Jew story by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. Which side? This side? Okay, must be this side. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshu Onmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading the chapter Facing Challenges. At Shivner, I had been suffering from jaundice. With care and patience, I had been able to overcome my condition. But within 2 weeks, after Prabhupada had shifted from Bhogilal Patel's mansion to Mr. Sethi's place in the Jew scheme, I had a relapse. And no matter what I did, I had not been able to recover. Eventually, Prabhupada had said that I would not get better as long as I stayed in Bombay. So I had gone about getting the required stamps in my passport to leave the country, and still quite ill, undertaken the flight from Bombay to Chicago. My parents had received me at the airport and taken me to their home, where I had lived from the age of 8 until I had left for college. A day or two after I arrived, an old family friend who was a psychologist paid us a visit. She came in my room and inquired, "Tell me, Glenn, did you feel that your parents didn't love you?" "Which parents?" I asked. "I have passed so many lifetimes, and every lifetime I have had different parents." Whatever question she asked, I answered with Krishna conscious philosophy. So this modern psychologist, they think devotees are crazy, and devotee thinks public is crazy. That will eternally go on. So we should never bother about what others say, especially non-devotees. But with just determination, carry on our bhakti, as Giriraj Maharaj is sharing. After some time, she left my room, and I could overhear her speaking with my parents. "I am sorry," she told them. "I did whatever I could, but I don't think I can help him." My parents, I suddenly realized, had sent her to cure me. I began to feel uncomfortable at home. So I went to the Chicago temple in Evanston and then to Los Angeles to recuperate at the temple there. Prabhupada arrived from India soon thereafter on November 30. When he asked about my health and my stay in Chicago, I told him how the psychologist had come to cure me. You have been infected permanently, he said. You can never be cured. As I became well enough, I began to accompany Prabhupada on his morning walks. On one I asked, we say that Krishna is the original cause of all causes, but some people question, then who is the cause of Krishna? How do we answer them? According to our information, Krishna is the first cause, Prabhupada replied. If you do research and find someone who is a cause of Krishna, we will worship him. But until then, you should worship Krishna. In his talks in LA, Prabhupada often smashed mundane, godless scientists, and he inspired his devotee scientist Swarup Damodar Das, Dr. Thaudam Singh, and organic chemistry. That's His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. To form the Bhakti Vedanta Institute to preach the principles of the Bhagavad-gita in scientific language and establish Krishna as the origin of everything, both matter and spirit. I also became inspired by the idea of scientific preaching, and although I was not qualified like Swarup Damodar, I wanted to participate. One day I approached Prabhupada in his room during his massage and told him that I was interested in joining in the scientific preaching. He simply smiled and said, "Your field is psychology." He knew that I had been a psychology major. Still, he said I could apply that knowledge in the work of the Bhakti Vedanta Institute. I said that I had noticed that when he spoke about scientists, he used the words such as nonsense, rascals, bluffers, and cheaters, and often said that we should kick them in the face with boots. So I asked whether we should use such language when we preach to or met with scientists. No, he replied, you should speak like a gentleman. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in another conversation that because he is of old age, his body is of old age, so when he uses rascals and such words, people don't mind. But young devotees should not do that. We should preach in a way that we convince people to practice Krishna consciousness, not to defeat people and feel I am victorious. What is the use of our victory if the person doesn't take up chanting? That is not victory. It is like operation is successful but the patient is dead. That kind of preaching is not required, where the presentation is successful but nobody picks up Krishna consciousness. While I was in LA, the latest issue of BTG arrived with an article by Vishnu Jan. He had just returned to America after spending months sailing down the Ganges, chanting the holy names, and stopping at towns and villages along her banks to chant, distribute prasad, and preach Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada appreciated the article entitled, "Someday the tiny soul will want to get out of illusion." So that's one good preaching area which we don't do. I mean, I have not heard. Taking a boat and going the river, any river, especially Ganges, and halting at all the towns and villages and preaching. They do that in Mayapur, boat preaching. And commented, because Vishnudan has done so much chanting, he has been able to write so nicely. It was said of the six Goswamis, Dhir Adhir Jana Priyo Priya Karo Nirmatsaro Pujitau. They were popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians because they were not envious of anyone. Whatever they did, they were all pleasing to everyone. Srila Prabhupada demonstrated the same qualities. He reciprocated with scientists, preachers, managers, and book distributors, even my parents, so perfectly that they all were pleased and satisfied. He was gracious with everyone. A few weeks after I left Chicago, my parents flew out to see me in LA, and they came along on a morning walk in Cheviot Hills Park. My mother was very pleased when Prabhupada greeted her. "Oh, Mrs. Teton, you look so young." At the end of the walk, we came to the parking lot, and my father began to eye the Rolls Royce the devotees had arranged for Prabhupada. Humbly, almost diffidently, Prabhupada told him, "My disciples got this for me." "Oh no, you deserve it," my father responded. "You can come and ride with me," Prabhupada invited him. "No, no, we have our own car," my father said. After we left, I later heard Prabhupada's servant said to him, "Srila Prabhupada, everyone likes you so much." And Prabhupada replied, "Yes, because I like everyone." My return to America after 3 years away was such a major event for my family that even my uncle, my father's brother, came out to LA from Chicago, and I arranged for him to meet Prabhupada in his quarters. My uncle was a doctor with high ideals, and he opened his heart to Prabhupada about how disillusioned and disappointed he was with the state of the medical profession. He felt that doctors had become too materialistic and were more interested in money than in the welfare of their parents. As he went on expressing his chagrin, Prabhupada simply listened intently. In the entire half hour of the conversation, Prabhupada didn't say more than a few sentences. He just listened with great sympathy or empathy. And at the end, As we were leaving the room, my uncle turned to me and said, "My God, I have never met anyone like him. I must get a picture of him. I have never seen a fake face like his." That's just by hearing. In preaching, it's very important that we hear devotees, not just speak. One afternoon, after dealing with various managerial problems, Prabhupada leaned back on the bolsters of his asan and quoted a verse from Narottam Das Thakur, "Vishay chariya kabe shuddha hobe man, kabe hum herebo Shri Vrindavan." When will I give up material sense objects? When will my mind become purified? When will I be able to behold Vrindavan? He said, "Of course, it is not Vishay, material. It is Krishna's service. But still, I wish to be freed. I am hankering for Vrindavan." Eventually, responding to appeals from India for me to return, Prabhupada encouraged me to go back home, back to Bombay. I got the impression that he was telling me that if I went back and served him in Bombay, I would go back to Godhead. And when I was well enough, I returned. In Bombay, my work was now facilitated by Aditya Dasi, a former assistant to a bank vice president in the US, whom in my absence Tamal Krishna had arranged to be my secretary. I wrote Srila Prabhupada, "I am back in Bombay now, and I am very glad to be actively engaged in your loving service. Regarding the various points which you entrusted to me before I left Los Angeles, I wish to reply as follows. Regarding the municipal sanction, we are still waiting for the no objection certificate NOC from the police. According to Tamal Krishna Goswami, as soon as we get the no objection certificate, we will be able to get the final approval from the municipal corporation. I shall be personally looking into the matter and trying to get it as soon as possible." Meanwhile, after the conveyance was signed and we became the legal owners of the property, one of the tenants vacated his flat in the D block, and Prabhupada finally had a proper place to stay on Hare Krishna land. Tamal Krishna wrote him, "One tenant at Hare Krishna land has approached us and desired to move out of Hare Krishna land. He is willing to move out of his flat if we pay him. This flat we are going to keep for your divine grace to stay in when you come to Bombay. And we are herewith presenting and offering to you our formal and humble invitation to come to Hare Krishna land as soon as you can. You will have a nice accommodation right at the temple in this new flat, which we will decorate and paint and clean very nicely. We are planning to purchase the flat on the 10th of this month, and as soon as we get the flat, I will telegram you. Similarly, if your divine grace would bless us with a telegram of your expected date of arrival, That would be very kind and merciful. So some devotees, they calculated the number of total days Prabhupada stayed in various cities in the whole world and various temples. And we are so fortunate that Prabhupada stayed highest number of days in ISKCON Juhu. And I don't know, remember the exact number, it's around 520 days or plus 520 days, 528 or something like that. So that many days Prabhupada stayed in Hare Krishna land. And we are reading the struggle. So we are very fortunate to stay here as servants of SriSriRadhaRasbihariTemple, Srila Prabhupada. And we should give our 100% capacity and 100% energy to serve the temple. Prabhupada replied, I am very engladdened to hear you have secured one flat on our Hare Krishna land. I am planning to arrive in India on or before February 1. Then I can go to Bombay, say about the second week in February. And together we can go to Mayapur in March. Now by your arrangement, it will be very pleasing for me to stay in our own land at Juhu. In the past, I was a guest while staying in Bombay. But now we have our own place, and this is very engladdening to me, so I will come. He arrived on February 16. We had painted his flat, which was on the second top floor, and did the best we could to fix it up. It was quite small, less than 600 square feet, and comprised a small darshan room, a kitchen, a small kitchen, and an even smaller bedroom with two balconies. Now, however, in Prabhupada's presence, it seemed like a huge opulent flat. Indeed, it seemed like Vaikuntha. With its open verandas and grey stone, the flat was always pleasantly cool. Prabhupada liked to sit on one of the balconies and take his massage in the sun. Surveying the Jew property with its many tall coconut trees, the long palm leaves rustling pleasantly in the breeze, he said that Hare Krishna land was a paradise. One of the salient features of the apartment, remembered Dina Tarini, who helped fund its transferal, was a large open terrace on top. Srila Prabhupada would go up there and sometimes cut karelas and dry them on the roof in the sun. Palika and I had an idea to make him a wonderful asan up there, and we arranged to have big white pillows and a big white seat made for him and put them in front of a neem tree on the roof. Srila Prabhupada would go up there every evening, and he loved to sit on that asan in many different poses. Sometimes he would sit horizontally with his legs over one pillow and his head over another. Sometimes he would sit cross-legged, and sometimes he would sit with his knees drawn up. And it appeared to me at that time that he was extremely robust in health and jolly in his mood. Things were progressing nicely in Bombay at that time. He would sit up there And whoever came was destined to see the most wonderful features of Srila Prabhupada's personality. His character, his nature, his eloquence, his gracefulness, his aristocratic bearing. So many aspects of him were in full display. Mr. Ratna Parkhi's cottage, Hanuman Kutir, accommodated some of the devotees, women and householders. It had 3 rooms downstairs and a wooden stairway with a shaky railing leading up. The second floor had 2 rooms, both quite small, without proper windows, only bars and shutters. It was like a giant birdhouse with birds flying in and out. And the third story was an attic with a base of wooden planks with so much space between them that you could see through to the floor beneath. When Prabhupada returned to Juhu, he wanted to see the cottage. As Jagat Purush later remarked, after deity greeting, Guru Puja and Srimad Bhagavatam class, Prabhupada got off his Vyasasan and came to the edge of the Darshan Mandap, the temple hall, and gazed across the land toward Ratna Parkhi's house. I was in a position where I could see Srila Prabhupada's gaze, and I was astonished to see the look in his eyes. He seemed to be looking not just across Hare Krishna land, but across the entire world. He was incredibly grave and deep. It was awesome. Then Prabhupada said, I want to see the house. The devotees accompanied Prabhupada from the temple into the house, which had been freshly painted inside and fixed up with electricity and other basics. Prabhupada inspected the premises. Climbing up the stairs, he shook a loose railing and told the devotees, this has to be fixed. At the locked door to one of the rooms upstairs, he asked, who is staying here? A devotee replied that it was Jagat Purush and Gandiva's room, and Prabhupada said that he would like to look inside. Jagat Purush opened the door and Prabhupada walked in. Everything was neat and tidy, and Prabhupada looked approvingly. So there are some pictures which you can have a look directly. I really like this room, Jagat Purush said. It reminds me of Vrindavan, and it is very airy and bright and sunny. Prabhupada looked at Gandiv and asked her, are you happy? Yes, Srila Prabhupada, she replied. Then he asked to see another room, Aditya's. She had thought it was clean, but birds had gotten in and made a mess. Prabhupada surveyed it and asked, who lives here? Oh my, we are supposed to be clean, Aditya thought. But Prabhupada just said that the light bulb should be replaced. Next, Prabhupada approached the stairs leading up to the attic, which were just as tickety as the others. As he was about to climb up, Tamal Krishna said, no, Srila Prabhupada, those stairs are too shaky. It's not safe. Please don't go up there. But Prabhupada did not heed his warning. He walked right past him and the other devotees and started up the stairs. At the top was a storage area filled with Srimad Bhagavatams that had been ruined by being kept in a damp place and were infested with worms. Seeing the books, Prabhupada became livid. How did this happen? He demanded. Who allowed this to happen? He quickly descended the stairs, and as devotees moved aside to make way for him, stormed out of the cottage. Years later, Jagat Purush could still remember the trembling of Prabhupada's lips. The intensity of his fury was indescribable. Prabhupada strode from the cottage toward the back of the property in the direction of the Chatai hut. On the way, the devotees were silent, devastated that their spiritual master was upset and feeling helpless to do anything about it. As he approached the front of the hut, Prabhupada saw the cornerstone that he had personally laid 2 years earlier lying on the ground near the entrance, broken in two pieces. Again he asked, "What is this?" Srila Prabhupada's anger was terrifying. Jagat Purush recalled, it was so intense that one could not expect a cloud of anger to remain in the air for the entire day, if not days or weeks. So Srila Prabhupada used to say, ISKCON is my body and BBT is my heart. So we devotees should carefully take care of the property, even the books and everything, including Lakshmi, so that nothing is wasted. The devotees were crestfallen, ashamed and dejected, but Prabhupada's anger did not last long. When I went to the roof to have darshan that afternoon, Jagat Purush said, I was wondering if he would still be exhibiting his anger and continue to chastise the devotees for our carelessness. On the contrary, though, I found him in a very jovial mood, conversing with guests and disciples, and never mentioning the books or the broken cornerstone. I was thinking that Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness was so deep that nothing, absolutely nothing, could disturb his devotional service, especially the service of giving Krishna to others. It was amazing to witness his sudden and complete change of mood. The anger he showed was for us, but he never carried it with him. It was instructive anger. He had no anger in him other than anger and anxiousness for seeing that Krishna and his spiritual master were served nicely. Prabhupada left for Calcutta and Mayapur toward the end of February, and on March 11 he proceeded to Vrindavan, accompanied by devotees who had been in Mayapur for the Mayapur Vrindavan festival. Meanwhile, I was pursuing the no objection certificate with the police. While Prabhupada had been conducting the festival, our architect had received a notice from the Commissioner of Police dated March 6, denying the no objection certificate on the grounds that the construction of a temple may lead to more traffic congestion, and that bhajan singing, which had been complained about in the past, is likely to be a nuisance in the future as well. So there's a letter in the book at the end, Appendix A. So the Commissioner of Police denied giving no objection certificate to construct this temple, citing two reasons. First is, if the temple is there, there will be more traffic jam, more vehicles will be around. And second is, the singing of bhajan and kirtan will create nuisance in the neighborhood. Prabhupada was furious that the police commissioner had called the kirtan a nuisance, and he talked about it every day on morning walks, in his room, even in class. In a lecture on the 16th, he expressed his chagrin and offered a philosophical perspective. Quote, those who are impious, sinful, they cannot approach Krishna. Na mam duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhama. Those who are naradhama, the lowest of mankind, are always engaged in sinful activities. And rascals may be very educated, mayaya apriyata jnana, but their education value had been taken away by Maya. Just like nowadays it has become that the more one is educated, the more one is atheist. We have received one report just now from Bombay that Hare Krishna singing is a nuisance. You see how degraded the human being has become. Hare Krishna singing is a nuisance. And cinema singing is very good. Just see, they have become simply rascals, dogs and hogs. Unquote. The next day, he announced his decision to return to Bombay with an assembly of disciples to protest the police commissioner's statement. He wanted all the devotees who had come to India for the festival to converge on Bombay and hold massive protest. This program should be started immediately, he said. And so the whole day and night this nuisance will go on. When a friend, Mr. Gupta, suggested that we should assemble the protest, when a friend, Mr. Gupta, suggested how we should assemble the protest, Prabhupada responded, so do it. Don't speak. Now organize. Now there is no question of speaking. Practical. Everyone should take a leading part. And the Sankirtan nuisance should be started from Bombay. So Balwant Prabhu, you are taking? Yes. Balwant replied. Yes. Prabhupada affirmed. Take selected assistants, many sannyasis, and do it. You take the leaders. We shall pollute the whole world with this nuisance. The police commissioner has remarked, this bhajan is nuisance, so we have to agitate. There are so many Vaishnavas. Bhajan is nuisance, huh? It's my life. An Indian lady said. There must be some big agitation to drive away this man. Prabhupada continued. The demand should be that this man should be immediately removed. He has focused a sarcastic remark on a very pure religious system. This movement should be started. He must be removed immediately. We can hold protest marches downtown, Balwant suggested. Yes, yes. All the Vaishnavas will come with us. Yes, Prabhupada said. You have to organize all the Vaishnavas. In the Bhagavad-gita it is said, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. One has to chant Krishna always. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. And this rascal is saying, Bhajan is a nuisance. It is not possible to invoke, is it not possible to invoke an agitation against this? What right he has got to say nuisance? He could have spoken in sweet language that the devotee may be good for the bhajan may be very good for the devotees, but it creates disturbance to others. Therefore, we cannot allow. Say like that, but they cannot stop bhajan. That means the whole government is feeling that way, Gurudas said. Otherwise, he would not feel strong in saying it. That is a fact, Prabhupada said. But we have to become strong. There are many kirtan parties in Bombay. You have to organize them and bring them. Chant Hare Krishna everywhere. Create this nuisance. And Maharashtra is the country of Tukaram. He organized kirtan. The Tukaram kirtan parties are still there. Vitthal. Vitthal means Krishna. Then addressing his disciple based in Vrindavan, who would stay behind, he instructed, an ideal Goswami should remain here to challenge these false Goswamis. But if you also become false, then you cannot challenge. Prabhupada addressed the police commissioner's statement as soon as he got to Bombay, without waiting for the disciples to join him from Vrindavan. He instructed his foreign disciples in Bombay how they could speak to the local Indians and advise Indians how they should support the temple. A disciple has read an article that Iran wants meat. Prabhupada related. So our government said that all these skinny cows should be killed and the meat should be exported so we can get oil economically. That people should not think of religious sentiment but should be practical and not object. The government wants to open many slaughterhouses and kill these mischief loitering cows. Their policy is that religion is an opiate of the people. They think religion is just a sentiment. Their conclusion is that religion has no value. Therefore, their decision is not to encourage these temples and this bhajan. From this point of view, it is useless. So, indirectly or directly, they will not patronize this. So, under the circumstances, I suggest we make vigorous propaganda, hold open meetings in big halls, so that the public may understand at least that this movement is very important. Let there be advertisements that we will speak on different subject matters and then I will come and speak. In that meeting, make a nice gentleman president. Create public opinion so that they will come and sign. Yes, here must be one temple. We will prove from Shastric evidence as it is stated in the Bhagavad-gita, Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukritino Arjuna. This word bhajan is used with reference to the very pious man, Sukritina. And the opposite kind of man is Dushkritina, the miscreants. So bhajan is for the pious man recommended in the Bhagavad-gita. And Bhagavad-gita is held in great estimation all over the world. And yet this man has accused bhajan as nuisance. How rascal and ignorant he is. And he is in one of the important positions. This is government. The bhajan is described in the Vedic Shastra. as a dealing of the most pious men and is talking it as nuisance. So far as bhajan kirtan is concerned, Krishna has said, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridvrita. These are the symptoms of Mahatmas. We have to make it clear that bhajan is so important. Bhagavad-gita is meant for all solution of material problems. But the people of India are not accepting it. Why not try to follow the principles of Bhagavad-gita? And the easiest process, Satantam Kirtayanto Mam, always chanting Hare Krishna mantra. My disciples can also speak and say, you please come with us. We are foreigners. But we know Krishna is not for this one or that one. Therefore, we have taken this seriously. So, why are you Indians lacking? You come forward. You are all educated youths, gentlemen. Accept your culture. We have taken your culture. It is not your or our, but you think that it is your culture. But Krishna is neither for Indians nor for you. He is for everyone. Therefore, we have taken to Krishna. So why not try this? As stated, Kirtanat eva Krishnasya mukta sangha param virajade. Param vraje. Simply by Krishna Kirtan, one becomes free from all contamination. So why not join with us? What is the wrong there? It is stated in your Shastra and we have adopted it. And we are feeling better. Why are you so callous? You educated youth and gentlemen. This kind of propaganda has to be made. So we see Prabhupada responded so promptly, so powerfully against the whole idea that Hare Krishna chanting is nuisance, and he wanted his disciples to team up together, get public sympathy, and establish that holy name, chanting of holy name is very, very important and as per scriptures. So there will be always people who speak against our principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. But we don't have to compromise. We don't have to tolerate. By Prabhupada's mercy, we have a very established position of ISKCON, where we can very freely and hesitately preach the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, there are time, place, circumstances to consider as well. But the devotee should not be afraid. A devotee should be bold and straightforward, preaching Krishna consciousness. We should not be afraid that people will not like if I directly speak about Krishna. No, we should speak about Krishna. Those who are pious, they will get attracted. Those who are sinful, they will gradually become pious and then get attracted. So Krishna consciousness works, and we should preach it widely to all kinds of audiences. And then let them come at least Sunday, and let them give in writing that here the Radha Krishna temple must be there. Take thousands, millions of signatures. Prove that it is not nonsense. It is the most essential thing. And so far as traffic is concerned, there is a big road. Make two gates, one in and one out. And there will be no question of traffic inconvenience. In this way, make a presentation. That is my suggestion. May I submit a matter? Asked the local Indian life member, a lawyer. Prabhupada told him yes. This propaganda and collecting the signatures in the lakhs will not only take a lot of energy of the devotees, it will take time also. By writing the police commissioner to reconsider, we lose nothing. they can always reopen the case and reconsider. Because the two grounds which they have mentioned, number one, it is nuisance. It is to be proved it's a nuisance. Then you have to go. Prabhupada interjected. The public should go. Interested Hindus and Vaishnavas should go to the court and prove that it is not a nuisance, it is essential. There are three things the man went on. Number one, it is a nuisance. Now the nuisance is always to be proved. Merely by 2 or 5 people saying that the bhajans and the kirtans are a nuisance. People now are drunkards and meat eaters, Prabhupada responded. They may say, and even if they show, that is not authority. Authority is the Shastras. In other words, whether 2 or 5 people or 2 or 500,000 people say the bhajans and kirtans are a nuisance, they are not the authority. Shastra is the authority. But the government, which is so-called secular, no, Prabhupada countered. They may be secular, but they cannot neglect your Shastra. The man's next point was that in regard to traffic, it was again the responsibility of the complainants to show that there would be a problem. Without any justification, the man said, merely one sentence that it could be, and if you read their letter, they have not committed that certainly it will be a traffic problem. They said maybe. That means the other option is equally open, may not be also. The third is constitutional rights. Under the Constitution of India, every person, body or organization has the liberty and equal right to propagate any religion. Under the Constitution, I have got a liberty to express my path for any religion. Of course, Krishna consciousness, according to me, is not a religion because it is universal. It is not for any sector. I am conducting all these temples with the help of these foreigners, Prabhupada said. There is no Indian. That will come in the way that I have been telling Tamal Krishna also, that you should have some Indians. You should have, Prabhupada retorted. But no Indians are coming. Then you should appoint somebody. We cannot appoint, Prabhupada said. That is not possible. Paid man is useless. Appoint does not mean that you pay them. Appointing can also be honorary. Who is coming honorary? Prabhupada questioned. They are honorary, but who else is dedicating? You should have those people in India. I should have means you. If you become that should have. I don't mind becoming, or you can have somebody else. No Indian is taking seriously. We have been here so many years. How many educated Indian youths have come? They are not interested. Because in the court of law, you require a person who should be Indian citizen, and he should have come. Okay, we'll end here. It's 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. Shri Shri Radha Rasbihari ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tidone Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna. We have questions for this? Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, what happened after the police commissioner was removed or he was changed? What was happened later on?
Keep coming for the class, you will know.
Ah,
Keep coming for the class, you will know, because it was a big episode.
Acha.
No. Suspense should not be disclosed.
Okay, Prabhuji.
The content of tomorrow's class should not be disclosed in this class.
I'll make one comment also. That minus point, he said that it is a nuisance of doing kirtan and traffic problem he explained. And plus point that he gave permission already.
No, he didn't give.
No objection he gave, no?
He didn't give.
No? Acha. Okay. Anybody?
Later on, we got. Yes. Janudin.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Prabhupada was very furious in whole class he gave on this nuisance. It's not a nuisance, it is essence. So many times in legal matters, it takes long time. And Prabhupada was mentioning here for signs, signature, support of the people. Many times in legal matters, it takes long time. So devotees, what should be the right there and then step? What should be taken at that time?
Well, there is no one answer to this. It depends on whether it's India or outside India. Like today in Bali, Indonesia, public harinams and public food distribution is stopped. ISKCON used to do that, now it's stopped. So they are talking to the government now, the GBC members. So they cannot go out on protest there, then it will be more stopped. So it depends on time, place, circumstances. But devotees should definitely not compromise. They should be convinced about the philosophy and they should follow the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam and they should dedicate all their energy to make sure we practice, we preach what we practice.
So we should wait and we should wait.
No, we should not wait. We should do something. But your question is what to do.
Legally, it takes long time. Just like Indonesia example you were saying. So devotees waiting now for the
No, they are
legal
working,
permission.
trying to work out with the government. So some places you have to do this, some places you have to go on the street and take public support. For our Hare Krishna land, this was done. And even that Prabhu is not there, Bhaktivedanta Manor, this was done. Great public support was taken and that's how the temple was protected. Otherwise they were shutting it down. So one has to do it in a way that success is there.
Thank you.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu time, the Chand Kazi didn't allow Harinam and he broke the Mridanga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu organized a non-cooperation movement, a big procession with mashal, with torches, and went to his house and he was ready to burn his house. And finally Chand Kazi understood and he gave a decree that nobody in my generation will disturb Harinam. So this may be required. So it depends on the situation. We should be open to all paths. It may be required like Arjuna to take weapons one day. Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Devotion, even bombs can be used in Krishna service. But it's homework how to do it. So one day it may be required. That doesn't mean we do it today. But we should know. All paths should be. Hanuman went to Lanka to burn the whole Lanka. That is also required. That's devotional service.
That should be based on the authority structure.
Yes, yes. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, we will end here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Gokuleswar Prabhu ki jai.